Hello everyone, I'm X-Manager. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Enjoy watching. I will tell the summary of the movie Against the Sun, based on a true story. In 1942, the USA sends torpedo bombers to the South Pacific. On January 16th, Tony and Jane are on the plane under the control of pilot Hello Dixon. They decreased in fuels and apparently disappeared. They are making calculations to find the way back. They can't communicate with the center yet. In order to gain some more time, they drop their torpedoes into the sea and raise their altitude. Despite all his efforts, radio man Jane cannot communicate. Their calculations of their whereabouts were also wrong. The plane is in a place where it shouldn't be. He decides to use the remaining fuel for a safe landing, warns his friends that the plane will land on the water, and asks them to put on life jackets as soon as possible and collect all useful materials such as supplies and first aid kit. They're going to make an emergency landing on the water soon. Just land the plane on the water as accurately as possible and get out of the plane. But Tony and Jane are stuck in the plane because they can't unfasten their belts. Meanwhile, he must be trying to inflate the boat, unaware that the others are stuck. The plane starts to sink. Tony and Jane are going down to the depths of the ocean with the plane. There is a complete life market. At the last moment, they both manage to undo their belts, and it rises above the water. That means they couldn't get important supplies. They even saved themselves at the last moment. Harald managed to inflate the boat at this time, but the boat is upside down. They managed to fix the boat by connecting their villains. Now they have no choice but to wait to be found. They think that someone will find them. The next morning they talk about how they got lost, each indirectly praying that the other has done something wrong. But they know that this discussion will not lead them to a conclusion, so they do not prolong the matter. Tony is very hopeful that they will be found. They think they will search for them for days and finally find them. If they are silent, they listen to them. They prefer to sit at different angles in order not to miss this upcoming plane. Hours later, a plane arrives and they could not get their flares. So they take off their shirts and start shaking them. Despite all their efforts, the rescue plane doesn't see them and disappears. He says that this is their only chance to be rescued. Others don't want to believe it. But he says that they are probably in enemy territory. The war is more important than 3 soldiers. The procedure is just a quick glance. Overcoming disappointment, they begin to evaluate what they have in their hands. Every year, they first say that this boat belongs to the American Navy and that he is the captain. His orders will give every pot. The others agree. They take an inventory of everything they have, but it doesn't turn out much. A bit of rope, a knife and an empty water bag. They probably say that they have to carry the knife in their pockets because of the possibility of damaging the boat and throw their shoes to prevent wear. When they reach the land, someone must be able to walk comfortably. That's why they don't throw off their shoes. In the middle of nowhere, without food, without water and without a route, the hard days are starting now. Soldiers do everything they can to escape the effects of disappearance and not go crazy. Days and hours start to pass. They chat about various topics. They even sing songs to entertain each other. Tony is obsessively cleaning his gun every day. They get along well with Jane. He promises to introduce her to his sister. The effects of the sun are slowly starting to appear on their bodies. Their skin is starting to burn. It's very cold at night. They fall asleep. They have nightmares about what they found when they dive. Their power is slowly running out. All 3 do not fit at the same time. One person always stays awake to avoid missing a plane or an island, drinking during one of these seizures, trying to quench his thirst. One morning they like a breeze drifting a boat, making a vague guess as to where they are going, reaching some safe island. They have a chance, but that will take weeks. Tony thinks they will die before they reach any island. Jane prefers to be more positive and makes a sloppy fishing rod with some wire and string. As the days go by, they are getting more and more nervous. Harald asks the others what happened on the plane again and is looking for someone to blame for this situation. In the midst of these arguments, thirst becomes a serious problem. Tony thinks he can drink salt water, but every year he prevents it. Meanwhile, he suddenly screams. This is a cry of happiness. He finds a pen in his pocket. They immediately draw a rough map and calculate where they are, then build a sea anchor that can take them in any direction. They are more hopeful now, but thirst remains their biggest problem. Jane teaches the other 2 to pray for rain. Later in the night, the weather changes and it rains. They scream with happiness and pour rainwater on whatever they can find. Jane hasn't been able to fish. This overwhelms him. He tries to hit the fish with a knife. He tells him to put the knife in his pocket and it may damage the boat. They pull him on the boat. They stuff the shark meat in their socks to make bait later. 15 days have passed since the accident. Tony is looking at his gun with depressing thoughts. Jane takes it from him. Then Botoko shoots a seagull and jumps into the water to get the Harald bird. But the bird's blood has also attracted a shark to the area. While trying to reach the boat, Tony and Jane work. The gun jams. I guess he has no choice but to swim fast. He succeeds in reaching the boat at the last moment. In the morning of 20 days he wakes up from a nightmare, at any moment realizes that all three of them are asleep. Jane quarrels and tells Jane that their calculation is just an estimate. After many shouts and arguments, he admits that he expected them to reach the islands 4 days ago. They may have passed the islands, remembers again what happened on the plane that day, fell asleep during the flight although it was only a few minutes. He was lost. He apologizes that he will never be able to make up for his mistake. He pulls a desperate air on the boat. Tony says, "I wish we could create our own wind." Then he comes up with an idea. They will use the shoes as oars. They start rowing again with hope. It has been 30 days since the disappearance. Each of them is exhausted. The plants continue to row. The weather turns bad towards the evening and this time they are caught in a severe storm. The waves have risen well. Their boats turn upside down. All their tools fall into the water. They find each other holding onto the boat. With the help of the wind, they bring the raft back to the right position, hug each other to warm up until the storm passes. But they are too tired to move. All their hopes are gone. If one of them dies, they will make his body. They talk to their relatives who think they are dead. Tony tells him that they are too far to give up in order to disperse this gloomy atmosphere. Convinces his friends to row with his hands. This makes them very tired. Meanwhile, Jane sees something green in the distance. They finally see an island. They row with their hands towards the island, not caring if they will be found by the enemy. The three of them manage to reach the land together. They have on their minds whether they are in the enemy island or not. With shaky feet towards the nearby hut they move on. This arrival came after more than 1,000 miles at the end of 34 days. Every year the Navy is rewarded for saving its crew. Tony quits the Navy and dies in 1986. His ashes are dumped into the sea. Jane continues to work in the Navy as a radio operator. She marries Tony's sister in 1946. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the video to support me and for more content like this. We've come to the end of this video. See you in the next video. I'm X Manager. Bye.